Every night you promise yourself tomorrow will be different. Every morning you believe it. And every evening you feel disappointed again. In this episode, let's break that cycle today. There is a moment that almost all of us know too well. You sit down, fully aware of what you need to do. The task is clear. The deadline is real. And yet, you don't move. Instead, you scroll. You check messages you've already checked. You promise yourself, I'll start in 5 minutes. And somehow, those 5 minutes turn into hours, sometimes days, sometimes years. What's interesting is that procrastination rarely looks like laziness. It looks like planning. It looks like thinking. It looks like preparing. It looks like waiting for the right mood. But beneath all of that, procrastination is often something far more emotional. It's fear dressed up as delay. It's self-doubt hiding behind distraction. It's the weight of expectation quietly convincing you that it's safer not to begin than to try and fail. Many of us believe procrastination means we don't care enough. But what if the truth is the opposite? What if we procrastinate because we care too much? We delay the work because we don't want it to reflect our flaws. We postpone the decision because we're afraid it will confirm our insecurities. We avoid starting because starting makes things real, and real things can be judged. Think about the goals you keep pushing forward, the conversations you keep postponing, the dreams you keep saving for later. It's not that you forgot them. It's not that they stopped mattering. It's that they matter so much that you're scared to touch them. Procrastination is not a time problem. It's not a motivation problem. It's an emotional relationship problem with ourselves. And today, instead of shaming ourselves for delaying, instead of calling ourselves lazy or undisciplined, I want us to slow down and ask a more honest question. What am I protecting myself from by not starting? Because once we understand why we procrastinate, we stop fighting ourselves, and we start healing the real cause. This episode is not about forcing productivity. It's not about pushing harder or hustling more. It's about understanding your mind, your fear, and your patterns, and learning how to move forward with compassion instead of pressure. So, if you've been stuck, if you've been delaying something that matters deeply to you, if you've been silently disappointed in yourself, stay with me. Because procrastination doesn't mean you're broken. It means there's something inside you asking to be understood. Now, let's begin by removing the label. Procrastination is not a personality trait. It's not who you are. It's a behavior, and behaviors are emotional responses. When you procrastinate, your brain is not trying to sabotage you. It's trying to protect you. The human brain has one primary job: protect you from pain and seek comfort. And starting something meaningful often triggers discomfort. Discomfort of uncertainty. Discomfort of effort. Discomfort of not knowing if you'll succeed. So the brain does what it does best. It redirects you to comfort. Scrolling, snacking, sleeping, overthinking, procrastinating. These aren't random habits. They're emotional escapes. One of the most common roots of procrastination is the fear of failure. When you don't start, you don't fail. When you don't submit, you don't get rejected. When you don't try, you don't get judged. In a strange way, procrastination feels safer than effort. Because effort exposes you. It shows the world what you're capable of or what you're not. And for many of us, our self-worth has been tied to outcomes. We learned somewhere along the way that success equals value, and failure equals shame. So instead of risking shame, we delay. Without our knowledge, when we trying to be perfect in everything we do, automatically lead us to procrastination. Perfectionism often pretends to be excellence. But in reality, perfectionism is fear wearing a mask. It tells you, if you can't do it perfectly, don't do it at all. Wait until you're more prepared. You're not ready yet. And suddenly, preparation becomes procrastination. Perfectionism doesn't push you forward. It freezes you. Because perfection has no finish line. Sometimes we procrastinate not because we're afraid, but because we're overwhelmed. The task feels too big. The goal feels too far away. The process feels unclear. So instead of breaking it down, we back away. Our mind says, if I can't do it all, I won't do any of it. But progress was never meant to be dramatic. It was always meant to be small, consistent, and quiet. Here's something we don't talk about enough. Sometimes we procrastinate because succeeding would require us to change. Change how people see us. Change how we see ourselves. Change the comfort of familiarity. Growth can feel threatening when your identity is built around being the one who hasn't figured it out yet. Procrastination keeps your identity safe, but it also keeps your potential trapped. Many people wait for motivation to start, but motivation is unreliable. It comes after action, not before. Waiting for motivation is like waiting for confidence before speaking. Confidence grows from movement. Clarity grows from action. Momentum grows from starting imperfectly. You don't need to feel ready. You need to feel willing. Let me ask you something honestly. How many versions of your life have you postponed? The dream job interview you wanted to attend. The book you wanted to write. The business you wanted to start. The healthier version of yourself you promised you'd become. Procrastination doesn't just delay tasks. It delays becoming. Every time you postpone something important, a quiet message is sent to your subconscious mind. My dreams can wait. My growth isn't urgent. I'll show up later. And over time, that message becomes a belief. The most painful part of procrastination isn't missed deadlines. It's the slow erosion of self-trust. You stop believing your own promises. And when you don't trust yourself, confidence disappears, motivation fades, and self-doubt grows louder. What's heartbreaking is that procrastination doesn't scream. It whispers. It doesn't say, give up. It says, tomorrow. And tomorrow is endlessly patient. But life isn't. One day, you realize it's not fear holding you back anymore. It's habit. And habits, when left unchallenged, become destiny. But here's the truth we often forget. You don't need a massive breakthrough to change your life. You need a small act of courage, repeated daily. Courage is not loud. It's quiet consistency. It's starting even when you feel uncertain. It's showing up even when you doubt yourself. It's choosing progress over perfection. The moment you stop procrastinating isn't when fear disappears. It's when your commitment becomes louder than your fear. As we come to the end of this episode, I want you to pause for a moment, not to plan your next task, not to rush into productivity, but to simply sit with yourself. Because procrastination is not just about unfinished work. It's about unfinished conversations with yourself. It's about the moments you told yourself you'd start tomorrow. The times you believed you needed to be more confident, more ready, more perfect before you could begin. The promises you made late at night, full of hope, only to wake up the next morning feeling heavy, tired, and unsure. And if that's you, I want you to know this first. You are not weak for struggling with procrastination. You are human. You didn't delay because you didn't care. You delayed because you cared deeply and you were afraid of getting it wrong. So instead of asking, what's wrong with me? I request you to ask, what part of me has been asking for patience, safety, or reassurance? Because growth doesn't begin with discipline. It begins with honesty. Procrastination thrives in silence and self-judgment. But it softens the moment you choose self-awareness over self-attack. You don't overcome procrastination by becoming harsher with yourself. You overcome it by becoming more present with yourself. And presence doesn't mean doing everything at once. Presence means showing up to this moment exactly as it is. Not the version of you who has it all figured out. Not the future version who's confident and fearless. But this version tired, hopeful, uncertain, and still willing. Here's something we often forget. Your life is not waiting for you to feel ready. Your dreams are not standing in a corner saying, take your time. They are quietly fading each time you choose comfort over courage. And courage doesn't mean making a dramatic leap. Courage means taking one honest step. One email. One page. One conversation. One decision. That's it. You don't need to finish the whole journey today. You just need to stop abandoning yourself. Because every time you procrastinate on what matters, a part of you feels unheard. And every time you take even the smallest action, that part of you begins to trust again. Self-trust is built in moments no one applauds. Moments that don't look impressive. Moments that feel almost too small to matter. But they matter more than you know. Think about this. What if procrastination isn't the enemy? What if it's a signal? A signal that you've been expecting too much from yourself without giving yourself enough grace. A signal that you've been chasing results instead of building rhythm. A signal that you've been waiting for motivation instead of practicing commitment. You don't need to feel inspired to begin. You need to feel willing. Willing to do it messy. Willing to do it scared. Willing to do it imperfectly. Because clarity comes after action, not before it. And I know there's a voice inside you that says, but what if I fail again? But what if I can't stay consistent? But what if I disappoint myself? Listen closely. You've already survived disappointment. You've already lived through delay. You've already carried regret quietly. So why not risk effort? Why not give yourself the gift of trying without demanding perfection? The truth is, procrastination doesn't steal your time all at once. It steals it slowly, gently, almost politely. It asks you to wait. And then wait a little longer. And then wait until life feels safer. But life never feels completely safe before growth. Growth asks you to move while still unsure. To trust before you feel confident. To act before certainty arrives. So today, I don't want you to promise yourself a new life. I want you to promise yourself one small moment of integrity. One moment where your actions match your intentions. One moment where you stop negotiating with fear. One moment where you say, I will show up even if it's uncomfortable. That's how procrastination loses its power. Not through force. Not through guilt. But through self-respect. And remember this, progress is not loud. It doesn't announce itself. It whispers. It shows up as consistency when no one is watching. It shows up as effort without applause. It shows up as choosing now instead of someday. If you've been feeling behind in life, let me tell you this clearly. You are not late. You are learning. And learning takes time. But don't confuse patience with postponement. Be gentle with yourself, but don't disappear from your own life. Your future self is not asking you to be perfect. Your future self is asking you to begin. So when this episode ends, don't rush to do everything. Just choose one thing you've been avoiding. Open the document. Write one sentence. Take one step. That is enough for today. And if this episode resonated with you, if it felt like it spoke to a part of you that's been quietly struggling, then I invite you to stay connected. Share this episode with someone who's been hard on themselves. Someone who keeps saying tomorrow. Someone who needs to hear that they're not broken, they're just human. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this podcast. Not just for learning and motivation, but to remind yourself to slow down, reflect, learn, and return to yourself. Because your life doesn't change the day you feel ready. It changes the day you decide you're worthy of starting. Right now. And you are. Always.